We're here at VMworld 2014, and I'm here with Brian Lillie, who's the CIO of Equinix, and Oded Hanner, who's the
CTO.
CTO of HotLink. So can you give us a quick overview of Equinix?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Equinix is the largest global data center provider in the world, network neutral, which means that we have about 1,000 carriers that traverse our data centers worldwide, which means really about 100% of the internet's routes are accessible there. And what that does is it's created an entire cloud ecosystem for really this incredible growth in cloud. And we're happy to say customers like VMware and Microsoft and Amazon and Google and IBM and yada yada. I mean, it keeps going on. Our customers with their cloud offerings in our centers, and being the global CIO is a pretty fun job.
I bet. And we've spoken with you before, earlier in the show, and I understand since then you guys won the Gold Award, was it?
Yeah, isn't that great? We just got the Gold Award for hybrid and public management.
Excellent. So can you tell us a little bit about some of the announcements you've had at the show as well?
Sure. So HotLink has two main products, Hybrid Express that helps with, that essentially integrates and supports multiple platforms, both on-premise, Hyper-V, Zen Server, and KVM, as well as off-premise, Amazon Web Services, all from within vCenter. And by that I really mean enable the administration and management of the global hybrid world that Brian just mentioned, from an administration perspective, and we enable the migration of virtual machines into Amazon and back from Amazon, all from within those platforms. Now I should mention that we announced Simple SDN, which obviously is critical in the ever more complex hybrid world. Making networking that simpler for the admin is critical as they start to adopt a more complex world. We also announced more support for production workloads, multi-tier workloads, many disks, big disks. We automate all of the work that an admin needs to do so that ultimately for them it's as simple as push a button, choose to migrate a virtual machine. So that's Hybrid Express. The RX, which is the second product we have, has a few announcements of its own. Obviously support for an ever more complex production workload set that our customers demand. We added many dashboards and analytics which our customers require in order to both monitor and alert when something in their environment does not work, or to just see that it does work well as troubleshoot all the way down to a particular virtual machine.
And so do you see enterprise pursuing hybrid IT strategies, and what are some of the key cases that you're seeing?
I absolutely do. Over the past 6 to 12 months, we've seen more and more adoption of hybrid as a normal strategy. It's not anymore a strategy, it's a tactical work on behalf of our customers. I've seen significant requests to use the public cloud in parallel to an on-premise. It's not anymore only on-premise, or as others might think, only in the cloud. There's definitely a notion of using both, which is very important. By using both, customers essentially maximize the power of both for different use cases. Using the cloud for an ongoing pay-as-you-go, maybe short-term project is fantastic. For now, I'm seeing a lot of on-premise mission-critical workloads. I'm now seeing, as of late, the hybrid of both, using some tiers up in the cloud and some tiers, for example, database servers on-premise. I think what Brian is going to talk about in Equinix is fantastic, because they enable kind of that both in a very seamless and native fashion, which is great.
So what kind of challenges do you typically see your customers facing in this hybrid IT environment?
Well, I think I can answer this one because I see it. I not only see it, I live it. So we have about 4,000 employees at Equinix globally, and we're a big VMware customer. We have a pretty significant internal cloud environment. We're about 94%, 93% virtualized. So there's really only about 7% of our production, dev, test applications that aren't virtualized. and there's sort of specific reasons why they're not. And so I believe we're at that end, but I think that there are many CIOs that are at that end. The challenge comes in when you want to grow that environment. So when you need an additional dev or test environment, or you need to deploy new applications, or your storage is growing faster than you can spin up a storage array, or you're running out of shelves and flash is a bit too expensive except for your really demanding OLTP transaction systems. So all of those things come together and you say, well, how can I get some relief? Well, I think what CIOs tend to do then is you look at your workloads and you look at your data and you look at your growth and all that, and you put that into your plan and you say, if I had a hybrid cloud, if I had the ability to move some of these workloads externally to a public environment and park them there, let's say it's archive sort of storage, or if I have spike needs, when I was in the Air Force, we used to build satellites, and it was amazing how much infrastructure you had to build for launch day. So it's like you were building for the peak all the time versus build for day-to-day operations is here, and then when you launch, you need it. And that's sort of this premise of hybrid cloud is I can build for my normal day-to-day operations and sort of normal project trajectories, but I can spike out to the cloud when I need it. And so that is not an easy thing to do. In fact, I call it, I joke around, I say it's a science project, right? You need things like HotLink to sort of, even though we're all scientists and engineers, sort of take that science-y part out and put it into something you can operate and you can run your business on, and let them do the science, and we just use the science to run our business. And so those are some of the challenges we face.
I mean, that kind of brings me to my next question is, how does HotLink's technologies overcoming these issues that you're talking about?
Well, I could let Oded talk, but I'll give you the truth, the real truth.
Better spoken from a customer.
Yeah, that's right. We are a customer, and not only we're a customer, so I'll tell you how I believe it is. Like when I first ran into these guys, I was pretty impressed because it just worked. And there's a lot of things that you can get to work if you put enough Band-Aids and bubble gum and baling wire on it and you throw enough engineers at it. Yes, we can get it to work. But this was shown to me on a laptop, and it showed to me hypervisor translation. And what that means is big VMware customer and intend to be that. But when you look at the public cloud, as VMware just recently is rolling out their public cloud offering, that didn't exist before. So people have built infrastructure out in Amazon, and they've built infrastructure out in Microsoft on Azure, and those are different hypervisors. So Amazon has the Zen hypervisor, and Microsoft has Hyper-V, and we're using internally, we're using ESX, we're using VMware's. Well, so I need the brains in the middle to do that hypervisor translation. So if I want to move a VMware ESX workload to Amazon Zen, I can do that. If I want to move a VMware workload to Microsoft's Hyper-V, I can do that. So there are companies that do that. I mean, I think there's some competitors now to HotLink that's going to keep them on their toes. But the difference is, this to me was the real thing that means that they got it. I have people that actually run IT at Equinix. They're not machines. They're people. Those people are trained on vCenter, and they love vCenter. vCenter's a great product, and VMware is so far ahead of everybody in terms of that kind of console. What these guys did is, instead of creating yet another management console, they said, why don't we just extend the menus within vCenter? Just extend them. So now I want to move a workload to this resource pool, that's the term in VMware, or I could say I want to move it to Amazon, and it's the same damn menu. So that just solved my training and adoption. It was a plugin, and I was up and running. So literally, we were up and running in a couple hours, and so making sure the translation works solidly, and then making sure you address the people issue is why we went with HotLink, and we're actually showing this to our customers in our solution validation centers, which are places in our data centers where people can try out new technologies and innovations. And these guys are helping them, basically learn how to be a hybrid cloud.
So what are some of the hybrid IT use cases that Equinix is customers are most often deploying?
So I would say that there are several. I would say one of the most interesting latest ones is where they want to keep their data secure and not on the public cloud. They want to keep that in a private cage at Equinix, but they want to use the compute power of Amazon or VCHS or Azure to operate on that data. Well, how do you do that? Well, we have low latency connections to those guys. That's one way that enables it. And then HotLink is actually helping us manage that, basically taking the science out of that effort. And Oded can talk more about how they've proven that, and the latency, it feels like it's on your local area network. So I can keep my data at rest and private and secure, but I can use the compute power of these public cloud giants to operate on it. That's a really growing use case for us. We have other use cases where dev and test is out in the cloud. We have other use cases where I want to launch a new product and see how it goes, and I don't have a see how it goes infrastructure inside, because if it takes off, I'm screwed, right? So that's a great use case, and game companies are doing that, where they're like, I don't know how this is going to go, so they put the new game out there, and now it goes gangbusters, and Amazon scales right with it, or VMware scales right with it. And then once it dips down after launch day to steady state, now I might build that internally, but that's my new product launch pad. So those are good use cases, I think, that we're seeing and doing ourselves.
Great. And Omed, so HotLink has a very strong record for being innovators in this industry. So what's next on the timeline for HotLink?
Well, thank you for that. And I think that the use cases Brian just talked about are use cases we saw and anticipated really as far back as 4 years ago. And so using this hybrid cloud is critical, and using it smart is critical, and making it automated and seamless and native to the admins is critical. What we're going to do is a whole lot more down that path. We're going to enable the transparency of migrating virtual machines for more complex, ever more complex production environments. We're going to add a few dashboards and obviously help with performance indicators in the hybrid world, so that admins not only see it all work but can monitor it on an ongoing basis. I think customers like Brian and Equinix put our product to great use and put it to hard use. And so making sure we support Equinix's mission and customers of Equinix, as well as obviously all of our customers, as they migrate more and more production workloads. And Brian mentioned, for example, gaming, right? The launch day for a game is the most important. Being able to support them as they burst is the most important. And then being able to help them migrate back on premise all flawlessly without any downtime is the most important. Being able to deliver that ever better is our mission, and that's what we'll continue doing. Obviously, we'll add support for more clouds. Brian did mention a few that we don't support currently. As we see more and more adoption, we'll obviously add support for them as we go along.
Yeah, in fact, KVM, I missed that in the hypervisor stack, but with the growth of OpenStack,
right,
the service providers really are more on that than the enterprise CIOs are, because of the cost opportunities. But we're pretty happy with the VMware ESX stack, and I think that's 80% of this enterprise CIOs.
Yeah, I suspect it's a high percentage, and that's why both of us spend a lot of time using it. It's on our radar, and OpenStack likely to come.
Great, guys. Thanks for taking the time to speak with VMblog.